Welcome to the Carnivore Cast, the podcast focused on the carnivore diet and lifestyle, with practical advice from successful carnivores, citizen scientists, and top researchers. I'm your host, Scott Meslinski, and I'm here to speak with experts and experienced carnivores to get answers to your biggest and meatiest questions while helping you live your best life as a carnivore. If you enjoy the show, please consider supporting the Carnivore Cast on Patreon. By becoming a patron, you'll help us reach more people and continue to create content on carnivore. There are also exclusive perks available, such as private Q&As, consultations with me, and more. Become a supporter at patreon.com/carnivorecast. Check the episode description for the link. Thank you, and I'll see you there. Daria Deptula, at Daria.Deptula on Instagram, used to be called Misfit Vegan and spoke at some of the biggest vegan events with a large following, personal brand, and coaching business, helping women accomplish fitness goals on a vegan diet. After a year and a half of 100% vegan, she noticed her health starting to seriously decline and has since spent a year or more on a mostly carnivore keto diet, repairing her health and facing massive criticism from her vegan followers, while being courageous enough to be transparent about her story. Welcome to the show, Daria.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Of course, excited for you to be here. And I think a great place to start would just be what brought you to veganism in the first place?
Yeah, so I've always been into health and fitness and nutrition, and the ethics kind of came after. But first, I had cancer in my family. My dad had colon cancer. My cousin had breast cancer, and I came upon forks over knives. I think like most people that started their vegan journey, it came upon that documentary, and I watched it like twice. And it was more for the health reasons. I just kind of got sucked into that whole, this is the best way to eat. This cures, all kinds of ailments. It's the anti-cancer diet. I started kind of diving into more documentaries and started to close my mind off to, everything else. So first, I did it for health reasons, and not really just for myself. I did it to see if I could learn something about, how to prevent cancer, how to help my dad, kind of stay in remission and stuff like that. And then the ethics came in, once I kind of started to follow the diet and get involved with the community, the ethics came second. So it was mostly for health and nutrition first, and then the ethics kind of came after that.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I think it's interesting to see how people approach the diet from those two standpoints. It seems like a lot in popular culture, a lot of people, especially now, it seems like the health route is becoming more common. I don't know what's your perspective on that. Do you think more people come to veganism from I think this is a really healthy way to live and to eat, or from the ethical standpoint first?
Oh, I think it's definitely the health first. I think, especially the way when I watched the documentary, it was really the perception that I got from watching it was just so well done. Like, it made me really believe that it was the healthiest way to go. So I think a lot of people that actually get introduced to veganism, I do believe that first and foremost, I think people do it for their health. I think because all in all, in America, it's been this difficult just to stay healthy, period, and like stay at a good weight and feel really, really good. So people look for different diets to get there. And I think veganism has kind of become like that diet. And then on top of that, you become a part of like a larger thing, a larger community, something, that's something that's bigger than just a diet. And I think that's also what draws people like, as the secondary thing. So I think I do believe that it's the health and the, nutritious part of it first and foremost for most people.
Got it. Yeah, that's interesting. And how bought in were you? Like, how entrenched were you in the vegan community? Talk a little bit about that.
Oh yeah. So once I was, always into health and fitness. I was a personal trainer. I was a certified health coach. And when I became vegan, I think like a lot of people that are in this space, and I was already kind of like a fitness influencer on Instagram. So I like changed my within maybe a few months of being vegan. Because I feel like this is something that happens a lot, when you change your diet from something, like a more of a standard approach to a more, whole food, nutritious, a lot of vegetables. I don't know. It made me feel good in the beginning. So I was like, oh, this is it. And I need to spread the word. So I changed my Instagram name to Misfit Vegan. I did a vegan, I did a bodybuilding show, a natural bodybuilding show as a vegan athlete.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then I decided to become an actual vegan coach, and it kind of went from there. I set up a website. I started to get involved in the community. I became very, close with some of the biggest vegans, like, John Lewis, Bad as Vegan, Tori Washington, spoke at Seed Food and Wine Festival on the vegan athlete panel with Rich Roll and John Sally and, Bad as Vegan, yeah, and Dom Thompson. And we all, talked about how amazing veganism is for athletes and, how it helps. And so I was very, very involved in veganism in the community. I mean, I was never the person that really, that showed the ethical side of veganism. So I didn't promote that kind of, like, my Instagram was more focused on fitness, was more focused on a diet part. But I never really promoted that, the slaughterhouse videos. I never really put that out there that way. I was more really focused on the fitness and the nutrition side. But I at one point, I'm pretty much, I did podcasts, I did interviews. I was Misfit Vegan. So I was pretty sucked in. I mean, like, my identity became, the vegan health coach. Like, that was me. So it was, I was pretty deep in there. Like, veganism was my life.
Yeah. Seems like it. And I'm curious, I definitely want to get more into your story and what made you kind of change your stance. But while you bring that up, what kind of parallels or differences do you see between the vegan community and the kind of carnivore keto community? Like, some of the things you're describing just sound too eerily familiar, like all these conferences with carnivores and keto athletes and doctors talking about the health benefits and how great they feel and all these things. Like, what's different? Obviously, like, we believe the science is different and more supportive of carnivore and ketogenic lifestyle. A lot of people have come over from veganism to carnivore, but what would you say are differences or parallels versus the two communities?
So, if I'm understanding the question, so what I will say is that when I first started to kind of question the lifestyle and the diet itself, it's like I was so scared. I was actually really scared and closed-minded to see any other research that contradicted veganism or eating a plant-based diet. Like, I did not want anyone or anything to make me question or doubt myself, because I was so scared to be proven wrong. So when I actually started to, as I'll let you know why later in the podcast, but when I started to question those things and I started to really open my mind up to different forms of diets, like paleo and keto and carnivore, and just listening to the other side, I guess, of the community. And what I noticed is that in the other space, everyone is also promoting the diet. Yes, they are sharing their research. However, it's much more open-minded and much more, accepting of other forms of what people like, what other people do. It's just, I found that as I started to open my mind up to the other side, it was more, for a better lack of a word, it was more, yeah, like just open-minded, free to, hear other people's opinions. And then, even the people even talked about veganism, talked about the plant-based diet, and, we're even open to speaking some of the positive aspects of it. But when it came to like the vegan community, it was just like, it was closed off. Like that was it. That was the topic. There was nothing else that was, no one could really debate anyone, outside of that. So it was just, the one major difference for me was seeing how I could actually listen to like a carnivore podcast or a keto podcast, and how, maybe veganism or something was brought up, but it wasn't in a more like an emotional sense, in a very, condemning sense, I guess. It was more open-minded and, like easier to really listen to and really kind of accept and see how you can kind of relate to it. Compared to the vegan side, it was very like, this is it. There's no other facts. There's no other way of looking at it. If you don't do this, then it was just very black and white when it came to veganism. And like I said, I understand, the ethics come in, but it was, that's the major difference, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if I understood the question.
Yeah, no,
correctly.
that's helpful. No,
Okay.
you answered it perfectly. That's really interesting. And I guess jumping off of that, when you're in this kind of closed-in community, what made you start to question it or change your stance?
Yeah. So I actually, this is kind of, interesting, because when I've always had, so one of the things I started to notice is, my menstrual cycle started to, when I first became vegan and a few months in, it started to become very irregular. And, I would spot here and there. I wouldn't really have like full periods, but I was also happy about that, because my cramps were gone. I used to get kind of bad cramps in the past. So at first I started to research some stuff, and like all this, this was a normal, and stuff would come up that like, oh, well, meat, when you eat meat comes with like this negative energy and all this stress from the animal. So when you eat meat, your body's stressed, like that's why you go through these painful periods. Like it was more connected to the ethical part than to the actual like, research into the actual like biology, I guess. So I was like, okay, well, that's just probably why, like, I'm just cleansed, I'm like, my body's peaceful, so it doesn't need to have a period or a regular period. I don't know. I was trying to, honestly, just justify the fact that I just wasn't, I didn't have a regular period. And after about a year and a half of that, I completely stopped having my period. And I remember going to see my cousin, in Poland, and she's a, psychologist, and she's a child psychologist. And she loves studying anything when it comes to, hormones, brain. Psychology, everything. And we started talking about that and speaking about, veganism, and she tried a plant-based diet. She was the one that actually had, breast cancer, and she herself, she was plant-based as she was going through the chemo, but then she went back to me because her doctor said that, it's actually, she actually needs to go back. And, so she did. And she was asking me about that. She was like, how have you been feeling? And we came on the subject that, I haven't been getting my period. And she was like, Daria, this isn't normal. Like that's not normal. It means something is really, really off with your hormones. And I like did not at all want to believe that. I mean, to me, I was like, no, like I'm fine. Like I'm eating the most well-balanced vegan diet. Like I'm a vegan health coach. Like that's what I was so proud to be a vegan health coach. I supplemented I knew all the supplements to take if I wasn't able to get it out of my actual diet, you know, the B12, the omega-3s, the algae, everything. I mean, under the sun, I supplemented with the perfect protein powders to make sure that I have enough muscle mass. I mean, everything. So I'm like, there's no way that my hormones are out of balance. Like, there's no way. And she's like, well, do me a favor, you know, have some eggs. She's like, just have some eggs with me and see what happens. And so I ended up eating just like a breakfast with her, and I had the eggs. And honestly, to this day, when I tell people, they don't believe me, like especially vegans don't believe me. They think it's something else. They think it's mind, or maybe it was mind body connection or something. But probably a few days after that, I got my period. And I remember I was like, this is really either very coincidental, or this is just, I don't know, maybe my body needed something. I don't know what, but I was like, okay, fine. I got my period. I'm going to go back to being vegan. And I went back to, you know, mostly plant-based again, for almost a year. But I noticed that my cycle was off again. It was literally on, off. I wouldn't get it for 1 month. 1 month it would come, 1 month it would spot. And I couldn't, it was draining, honestly. I just, at that point, and all the words that, you know, the conversation with my cousin kept coming up in my head, and she was like, this isn't normal. This isn't normal. So I started to worry. And I went to see my gynecologist, and she said, listen, Daria, I understand that, you know, you believe the vegan diet is something that's, you know, the best thing for you, but I just think that your body's obviously out of balance. It's out of whack. We never did any actual like tests, but she just asked me, she's like, you know, you might not be getting something, or your body's not, the bioavailability of the nutrients that you need in order for your body to be balanced. It's obviously not coming from the diet that you're currently eating. So if you please do me a favor for at least a month or anything like that, just add some fish to your diet, add some seafood if you really don't want to go back to meat, add some eggs and see what happens. Just kind of go back to that and see what ends up happening, because you know, if you continue this is, you know, I mean, if you want to have kids down the line, like this isn't not the right way to go. So, I went back to, so I listened to her, and I started to introduce, and like I said, ethics were just my secondary reason of, you know, going into the vegan diet. So for me, it was, I did want to take care of myself first and foremost. So it was important for me to be okay first. And then, you know, if that meant I had to kind of go, you know, against what I believed, that's just that I had to do that. So even though it was difficult and it was emotionally draining, I went back. And I don't know what happened, but I remember like the first 2 weeks I ate nothing. Like it's like my body wanted nothing but meat. And I remember buying like a rotisserie chicken from Whole Foods, and I was chewing the bones. And I know this sounds, if vegans listen, like the people that know me, if they listen to this, they're going to get, but I couldn't help it. I just, it's like once I started to get back into that, into those foods, it's like my body couldn't get enough. And everyone's been asked, I mean, since then, I just never went back. I just started to feel much better. And again, there's so many people that are going to fight me on this. And I even had vegans that messaged me before, because I mentioned a few things on Instagram prior to this interview. And I just got so much backlash. People said that, oh, I had hormonal imbalance because I did a bikini competition, when in reality, I only prepped for the competition about 12 weeks. So out of the 3 years, for the 12 weeks, I mean, I don't think that was, you know, a factor really in all the imbalances I had the whole entire 3 years. And I actually prepped in a very healthy manner. I never, you know, I never actually dropped calories to a crazy low amount. I really trained in a way that I wanted to make sure that it was sustainable. So I just, it was just crazy how much better my body started to feel, my mental clarity. I mean, I remember I had like panic attacks. I started to get anxiety the anxiety attacks I would have, my friends would be like, I would sometimes just not want to go out with my friends. I would sit at home. I wouldn't understand what would be happening, like why my mind I'd be so happy and so up, and, one day and the next day I just felt so low. I had these weird up and down, mood swings while I was vegan. And this was pretty much by the end.
And were you having these kinds of symptoms, Daria, both hormonal and mood symptoms before veganism?
No, not really. No, it's so hard for me to remember what it was like before veganism, because I just remember it being normal. I guess because I have such the difference that I felt from being vegan to like going to like more keto carnivore now, that difference is so pronounced to me that I almost don't remember what it was like before going vegan. I just know I was fine. I mean, when I ate, I ate healthy. I didn't eat anything, crazy. I just ate more. I didn't really count calories. I ate, when I was hungry, I ate good food. I was fit. I was a personal trainer. So back then I don't remember having anything that was this pronounced. And it's funny because I actually would try to find other reasons for this anxiety and for these mood swings. I started to believe that maybe it's because of social media, and, I would start to think like, okay, well, it's this pressure, this social media pressure. And now I'm this, influencer, and it's like, I would have these, like, I would just look for every other reason to why I was feeling all these emotions. It's bizarre. But yeah, no, I can't see. Yeah, it's like from before going vegan, I just remember it was just, I guess, like more normal. I mean, like a normal, it's, I'm sure I had mood swings, but they were pretty much set off by other reasons, for sure. But yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy, the journey you've been through, and very brave of you to share your journey. I guess, when did you decide, Daria, to become more public about it? And can you talk a little bit more about some of the backlash you faced from the vegan community and from your followers?
Yes. So when I went back to eating meat and, at first I just went back to eating meat, and then I just love research. When I start to research things, and especially diet, it's just a passion of mine. So I kind of dove deep into it. And I started to see how much better I started to feel, but I had such an emotional, I guess, disturbance when it came to like my identity as a like misfit vegan. That's what I was online. And a lot of people kept telling me, listen, this is your brand. Just treat it as your brand, be your vegan coach and just do what you do on the side. And I'm like, I just don't believe in that. Like I'm very authentic. And especially if I don't believe at this point and in this point in my life that this is the healthiest way to go, I just I wouldn't feel right within myself to continue to, lead others in that direction. I couldn't do it. So for a while, at first I was very nervous to say anything. I kind of, for maybe a few weeks, I was eating meat and I was still misfit vegan. And then I decided to make a post, about going keto. And it wasn't necessarily that I went from vegan to keto and that it was just a simple fact of, I decided to, go keto because keto makes you skinny and makes you lose weight, because I was already fit. So that wasn't it. But that was a lot of the actual backlash I got from people. When I made that post, first I changed my name. First I changed my Instagram handle to Daria Deptula. And people noticed that I took the vegan out of my name. I actually, I took my website down. So the vegan community started to see that. And then, so I started to get questioned. And when I made that post, I mean, that was probably, first of all, that was the highest engagement post I ever made, but not in a positive manner. Cause at that point I was probably closer to 30,000 followers. So when that happened, people said that I was vain, that this was all about, my body and doing things for myself. And I got messages from people calling me a murderer. I had people say that, I had this one guy saying that his wife, went vegan because of me. And now she's going to be questioning her choices because I mean, I had, and I, in my eyes, there's bigger vegans out there that, went back to me. And I can only imagine, like, from the kind of backlash I got to some of the other people that went back, I can literally only imagine what they went through because I couldn't handle it. I lost like 5,000 to 6,000 followers within a few months. People kept messaging me. Till this day, there's some people that still don't really know. So once I post something like a meal or, cause the algorithms change too. And people are like, wait, you're no longer vegan. And, it was really hurtful. Actually, I almost, I spoke to a few of the friends that I still have that are vegan, that aren't, I guess, that condemning. And I let them know, I'm like, even if I was to go back to, even if I had a question whether I wanted to go back, the way that the community treated me and the way that I was like shunned out, it almost made me like confirm my decision to walk away. Like maybe not even because of the diet part. Like at that point, I felt like we are supposed to be the community that promotes compassion, and we promote love and life and sustainability and all these things. And I'm being called a murderer, and I'm being called, I mean, some of the names I can't even say on the podcast, but it was, I had to honestly, it was so much at that point. Not only was I dealing with my own emotional, I was questioning my own, the decision myself, because it was something I identified with for so long. And I almost, my own beliefs were being questioned. And, me, myself, going into the research and finding things and seeing in my own body how I felt, I had to deal with that. And on top of it, everyone else's opinions and everyone else's, emotions about my choice. I felt like that was all thrown at me. So for about 6 months, I made that post and I went offline. I kind of felt like I needed to take a break. I did feel like I maybe could have gone a little deeper into the explanation, I guess, because I did have some of my friends said, well, you were someone people looked up to. You were a vegan influencer. You were a vegan person that people listened to, and you promoted this lifestyle. So you do kind of owe this explanation. And at that point, I just was not ready. I felt like from the backlash I got, I was scared. I did not want to put that negativity back into my life. But it was like, okay, I need to speak about this, because after I started to hear more vegans, going back to me and their stories and how similar they were to mine, and like just the biology part and like the physiology of what was happening to their bodies and their mental state. And I'm like, I want to share my story too, because I no longer believe that veganism, the plant-based diet, is the ultimate, diet for humans. I don't. And I do want, as much as I'm probably going to get so much hate for this again, but I just don't believe that anymore. So yeah, I went missing for a little while. Now, when I came back, I rebranded myself, and I never spoke out much really about the change in my brand and, you know, why I was now a keto coach I actually am a cyclical keto coach now. But I just started to, you know, speak about kind of how I feel now. And that's kind of where I am, now. So yeah, it's been quite a journey.
Yeah.
From the past. Yeah.
That's pretty crazy, and appreciate, you know, your resilience and your courage in dealing with all that, Daria. And, you know, it's really interesting to see like how people reacted, and, it's always so, telling, I believe, how people react when things aren't going the way they expect. Like how your followers and your friends in the community reacted when things weren't great. Like, I'm sure all of those people were super supportive and cheerleaders and in your court, when you were doing well and promoting the diet and, doing fitness competitions. But then all of a sudden you find out, you know, who's really there to help you, when things change.
Yeah. And honestly, at one point I even said, I'm like, no matter what, I mentioned this too, when I kind of got back on social media. I said, no matter what I say, no matter what my reason for changing from vegan to eating meat again, whatever it's going to be, I'm going to get the same amount of hate, no matter if people want these reasons and the community wanted these reasons. But I feel like no matter the reason that I give, it would still going to be a negative outcome because of the ethical part of the diet and the lifestyle, you know?
Yeah.
So, at that point, I told people, I'm like, if you want to know my story and you want to know why I changed from vegan, to what I do now, which is, well, now it's more carnivore keto. First it was just keto and eating more plants. And now I kind of also gone kind of the other extreme, but, I guess I wouldn't even call it extreme because I just feel better. But, yeah, I just said, listen, if you want to know, I'm more than happy to speak to you directly, but I just don't believe that even if I was to say exactly what happened, that it was going to make any form of a difference. I think everyone wants to hear, or the community wants to hear why, but they were still had their preset, you know, way of responding to it, no matter of what I was going to say. So I kind of, at that point, I'm like, whether I was to say that I just felt better, or whether I was to say that I had hormonal imbalances, or whether I was to say someone was always, and this is what's been happening for a few months now. And since I've actually, you know, went back to eating meat within a year, someone's always had a counter argument to anything that I said, you know? So it's like, oh no, it was a competition that you did. Oh no. Are you sure that you did everything? Are you sure you were supplementing with this? And it's like, you know, see, like no matter what I say, it's still, you still have your preconceived, I guess, you know, reaction to my story. So it was very difficult to actually even put it out there because the negativity, it wasn't like, oh, I'm just going to explain my choice and things are going to go back. People are going to be understanding. It just doesn't work like that with this community.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to, you know, maybe I always say like, maybe that did make me, a little bit of, you know, I don't know. I hate that word coward, but I just, at that point, it was so emotionally draining that that people were telling me like, listen, you need to be okay within yourself first. You know, you don't owe people explanations just because people, you know, put so much pressure of their choice on you. That's on them. And, you know, no one should make a huge choice like that in their lives because of someone else. I wanted to show, and I wanted to show how I felt, and I was sharing my journey. I wasn't over there, you know, pushing and trying to change people and trying to make people vegan. Like that was never my thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not like that with carnivore or keto right now either. I just say, hey, this is what I'm doing and this is how I feel. And if you choose to follow this, you know, ultimately it's whatever makes you feel best. So it was very difficult for me to hear that, you know, I was the reason someone was doing something and now they're questioning their choices because of me. So it's like, even though it's, you could separate yourself from it, but when you continue to hear that from people, and you continue to hear that something, something is, something like that is going on, it was difficult. It was difficult to hear. So, yeah.
And Daria, how has this affected your business and your coaching? You mentioned shifting to being a cyclical keto coach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I lost all my vegan clients. I actually, I had, at that point when I was at my peak as a coach, I had probably like 50 recurring monthly clients. So I was a full-time coach, online coach, and it's crazy. And I definitely take responsibility for that. It was my choice. But, when I stopped being vegan, I lost a lot of my clients because, they obviously didn't want to work with me anymore because I was no longer, even though I could have kept coaching them on the diet. It was fine. It's just because of the ethical part, I lost a lot of them. So I stepped away from coaching also at the same time, for a few months until I started to rebrand myself. So it took me pretty much like 6 months of trying to figure things out, and how I was gonna to actually go back to coaching. Cause to me, I coach on mindset mostly, and like really feeling good and finding something that works for you. And, for me, it is, I do believe that, the keto and for women, maybe more of a cyclical approach, or whatever works for you, honestly, is best, is as long as it's something that makes you feel great. So that's my passion. I mean, I love doing that. So now that I'm back to coaching, I'm kind of still rebuilding the coaching side, and then getting back up to a point where, I can say I'm, back to full time and being a full time coach. But right now I'm kind of rebranding still and getting back to that point of being, like back in there all the way. But it's funny because I actually, I've had a few former clients of mine who are vegan still and who were vegan, that I'm coaching now. And one of them is still vegan and the other two are not. And they came back to me and now they're working with me.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So I've actually had a few girls, that I've worked with in the past as well that are no longer vegan, and they've experienced kind of similar things. So they kind of motivated me to speak out about this as well. So yeah.
That's awesome. And Daria, what do you eat now? What does an average day of eating look like for you today?
So it's crazy because I used to be, when I was vegan, I counted macros like insane. I was always trying to track, trying to get the right amount of protein, the right amount of carbs. Oh my God. It was honestly like it ran my life. And now I found, that I do a lot of, I follow intermittent fasting almost daily. I eat more when I'm hungry. So I eat a lot of, I eat like minimal dairy. I love my eggs in the morning. I love any form of meat. So I love my steak. Yes, I love my steak. I love, I do chicken once in a while. I fish. I love salmon. I only eat, I guess, plants or more of like a salad when I go out. So if I'm out somewhere and if I decide to have a meal out, that's usually when I'll have like a salad or I'll eat more veggies, but I don't buy veggies for my home. So if you go into my fridge, it's eggs, meat, fish, seafood, some dairy, maybe some butter, and that's it. I don't do a lot of oils, so I don't really add oils to my diet. So I eat like 1 to 3 meals a day, and it really varies now. I've become so in tune. It's so in tune with my body and with how I feel that it's like the food doesn't run my life anymore. I guess I would say it's like I eat when I'm hungry. I eat as much as I need to feel full, and it usually is less than I ever needed. And I kind of pay attention to when my body like wants steak, when it wants chicken, when it wants seafood, like, you know, whether it's salmon or, smoked salmon or something like that. I eat eggs almost daily. So I would say I don't have a specific way that I eat, but I'm definitely way, way more in tune with my body. And I follow the like intermittent fasting, along with my days. So some days I'm hungrier, some days I'm not, you know, and some days I'll fast till midday, maybe, some days I'll eat earlier and then I'll just start my fast much earlier in the day and then fast till the day after that. So yeah, it's very simple. I mean, when people ask me like what I eat and they ask me to post, I'm like, I would be literally posting the same thing every single day. And I noticed that with a lot of carnivore, keto people, and it's like, that's what we do. It's very simple. If people want to make it so complicated, but I think that's the beauty of keto carnivore, or even just carnivore. It's simple. It simplifies your life, simplifies your grocery shopping. Like, I mean, it keeps you satiated. You don't have a ton of, like, you don't have a variety, but you don't need a variety as well. Like, your palate becomes so much more adjusted to the things that your body needs. And you're no longer like a slave to your cravings. I'm no longer like craving sugar. And I used to be a slave to sugar. And I used to have these binges that would send me off into more mind on clarity. So now it's more just becoming in tune with, I guess, my hunger signals and stuff. So, and it's very simple, very simple.
Yeah, that's great. And sounds like you found an approach that's a lot more sustainable for you too.
Mm-hmm.
And Daria, what are some of your goals going forward with your brand, with your coaching, and personally? Like, are you trying to do more fitness or figure competitions? What are some things you're looking forward to in the future?
So I definitely want to continue speaking out. I mean, now that I have actually talked about this, I do think that I do want to continue to spread the word about this, because I think that there's so much black and white with the plant-based diet, and people believe that there's just one way or another, when I just don't think that's the case. So I definitely want to keep promoting, just doing what's best for you. I definitely want to continue to build my brand when it comes to fitness and nutrition and health and wellness, and just women empowerment. Like, I work with mostly women, so to me it's really getting it's building that. I have my website, my ClickFunnels getting finished, so very excited, because I used to have such a beautiful vegan website, and now I'm gonna have one for my rebranded self. And yeah, I want to, honestly, I at this point in my life, I just want to take each step as it comes. I no longer, I try not to even like identify myself with a certain, lifestyle diet. Like, yes, I eat keto carnivore, but that doesn't mean that that's, I am, like, I wouldn't put like keto, like, that's just all I do. I just, because of the way that I identify myself with the veganism in my past, and how difficult it was when I had to make a few changes. I'm just more open-minded. So I want to just continue. I just want to continue to grow. I want to continue to grow, in the space. I want to speak out about this. Yeah, I mean, fitness influencer, sure, why not? Grow my Instagram, yay. I don't know. Just, yeah, whatever. I'm more, honestly, at this point in my life, I just want to, attract positivity into my life, and just just share my passion, and whatever happens from here, that's where life will take me.
Yeah, that's an awesome attitude to have. And Daria, thank you so much for coming on today. I've really enjoyed the conversation, hearing your story, and I know listeners will too. I have very similar philosophies. I talk about it on the podcast all the time. If a diet is working for you, whether that's a plant-based diet or a meat-based diet, then don't change it. But I'm just here to present, information, case studies, doctors of trying a meat-based diet, carnivore diet, and see if that works for you. But if someone is living their best life and feeling great, looking great, performing great on another type of diet, I would never try to stop them from doing that.
Exactly. Sorry, those are my dogs.
No worries.
Go ahead.
Carnivores are hungry.
Oh, yeah, right at the end, they decided someone knocked on the door, so I apologize for that.
No problem.
But yeah, I agree with you 100% with that statement, what you said, 100%.
Awesome. Well, I'll share links to your website and your Instagram in the show notes. And thanks again for your time today, Daria.
Thank you so much.
Have a good one.
You too.
If you enjoy the show, please consider supporting the Carnivore Cast on Patreon. By becoming a patron, you'll help us reach more people and continue to create content on carnivore. There are also exclusive perks available, such as private Q&As, consultations with me, and more. Become a supporter at patreon.com/carnivorecast. Check the episode description for the link. Thank you, and I'll see you there. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Carnivore Cast. If you enjoyed this episode, please review on iTunes. It really helps us out. And share it with a friend. What questions would you like answered, or who would you like to hear from in the carnivore research community? You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Carnivore Cast, or go to carnivorecast.com. You can also email me at info@carnivorecast.com. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep it carnivore.